My younger son Kevin called me that Tuesday morning, and those 5 words he said changed everything. Mom, I found Rachel's passport. Now I know what you're thinking. Why would a passport be such a big deal? Well, let me back up a little. I'm Monique Brooks, 65 years old, and I've been a widow for 10 years now. My husband, Raphael, God rest his soul, left me with 2 wonderful boys. David, my oldest, at 37, is an architect. Works himself half to death, that one, but he's good at what he does. Then there's Kevin, 30 years old and living his dream as a commercial pilot. Every time I see him in that uniform, I remember the little boy who used to make paper airplanes and throw them off our porch, yelling, "I'm gonna fly someday, Mama." I live here in Phoenix, Arizona, in the same house Raphael and I bought 40 years ago. It's nothing fancy, just a 3-bedroom ranch with a backyard full of daisies I planted myself. David lives here with me now, along with his wife Rachel and their 7-year-old son Tyler. It's nice having family around. Keeps the house from feeling so empty. That morning started like any other. I was washing the breakfast dishes, humming along to the radio, when the phone rang. I dried my hands on my apron. Yes, I still wear an apron, don't judge me, and picked up the receiver. "Hey, Mom." Kevin's voice was bright and cheerful. "Got a few minutes between flights. Thought I'd say hi." "Kevin, sweetheart, where are you this time?" "Atlanta Airport, heading to Paris in about an hour. Just finishing up the pre-flight checks." He paused, and I could hear the bustle of the airport in the background, announcements, rolling suitcases, all that chaos. "How's everyone doing?" "Oh, we're fine, honey. Tyler got an A on his spelling test. David's working on some big project downtown. Rachel's upstairs taking a shower right now." That's when Kevin went quiet. Not just a normal pause, a heavy, confused silence that made my stomach twist a little. "Mom," he said slowly, That's impossible." I laughed, thinking he was joking. "What do you mean impossible? I can hear the water running right now." "Mom, I'm holding Rachel's passport in my hand. I found it at gate 47 about 10 minutes ago. Someone dropped it, and when I opened it to see who it belonged to, I saw Rachel's photo. Her name, her information, everything." The dish I was holding slipped from my fingers, but I caught it just in time. "Kevin, that can't be right. Maybe it just looks like her passport. There's got to be some explanation." I walked onto the plane to check. He interrupted, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. "Mom, she's sitting in first class. Seat 2A. She's wearing a blue dress, talking to some man in an expensive suit. I saw her face. It's Rachel." My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. "Kevin, that's crazy. Rachel is right here. I talked to her not 10 minutes ago. She said she was going to take a quick shower before running to the market." "Then who's on my plane?" I stood there in my kitchen phone pressed to my ear, and I swear the whole world tilted sideways for just a second. From upstairs, I could still hear the water running. I could hear Rachel's voice, soft, a little muffled, humming something. "Kevin, I don't know what to tell you. Mom, I've got to go. They're calling for final boarding, but something really weird is going on. Can you check on things there? Maybe take a closer look." Yes, I'll figure this out." We hung up, and I just stood there staring at the ceiling like I could see through it into the bathroom upstairs. The water shut off. I heard the bathroom door open, heard Rachel's footsteps on the hardwood floor. "Mom," she called down. "Who was that on the phone?" I swallowed hard. "Oh, just Carol. My friend Carol. Nothing important." Rachel came down the stairs a minute later, her dark hair still damp, wrapped in a white bathrobe. She smiled at me, that same sweet smile she's had since David brought her home 7 years ago. "I'm going to get dressed and head to the market. Do you need anything special for dinner?" I studied her face. Same brown eyes, same small mole just above her left eyebrow. Same everything. "No, honey, just maybe some fresh tomatoes if they look good." She nodded and went back upstairs. I sank into one of the kitchen chairs, my knees suddenly weak. That's when I started paying attention. Really paying attention. Over the next week, I watched Rachel like I'd never watched anyone before, and Lord help me, I started seeing things that didn't make sense. On Monday, Rachel sat with Tyler at the kitchen table, helping him with his math homework. She held the pencil in her right hand, writing out the problems in neat, careful numbers. I remember thinking how pretty her handwriting was, all those perfectly formed loops and lines. But Tuesday, I saw her signing Tyler's permission slip for a field trip, and she was using her left hand. The signature looked different too, more slanted, the letters tighter together. "Grandma," Tyler said, looking up at me with those big, curious eyes. "Why does Mom's handwriting look different today?" Rachel or whoever was sitting there froze for just a split second. Then she laughed. "Oh, sweetie, I'm just tired. Grandma, you know how it is when you're exhausted. Everything comes out messier." I nodded slowly, but I went straight to my bedroom and pulled out an old notebook. On the first page, I wrote, "Tuesday, 3:30 p.m., left-handed signature, different handwriting." Wednesday morning, Rachel made pancakes for Tyler. She sang while she cooked "You Are My Sunshine," and her voice was beautiful, clear and sweet like honey. She hugged Tyler so tight when he said they were the best pancakes ever, and I saw tears in her eyes. Happy tears. Wednesday evening, Tyler accidentally knocked over a glass of milk. Before I could even grab a towel, Rachel, the same woman who'd been singing that morning, slammed her hand on the table. "Tyler, for God's sake, can't you be more careful? You're 7 years old, not a baby." Tyler's little face just crumbled. David, who'd been reading the newspaper, looked up sharply. "Rachel, it was an accident." She whirled on him. "You always take his side. Always. I'm the one who has to clean everything up around here, and I'm the bad guy." I watched this unfold, and I felt this cold, heavy stone settling in my chest. This wasn't just mood swings. This was like watching two completely different people. That night, after everyone was asleep, I added to my notebook, "Wednesday a.m., sweet singing affectionate. Wednesday p.m., angry cold different person. My neighbor Helen came by on Thursday morning to return a casserole dish." We were standing in my kitchen having coffee when Rachel walked by to go to the market. Helen waved at her through the window. Rachel waved back with her left hand. After Rachel left, Helen turned to me with this puzzled look. "Monique is Rachel left-handed. I could have sworn she was right-handed. Last week she handed me those tomatoes with her right hand." I think she uses both," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Huh, that's unusual. My nephew's ambidextrous, that's what they call it, but it's pretty rare." Helen sipped her coffee, then added, "You know what else is strange? Yesterday I saw Rachel at the post office. I said hello and she looked right through me, didn't even acknowledge me, but this morning she was so sweet when I waved, like two different people." Two different people. Those words kept echoing in my head after Helen left. I called my best friend Carol. We've known each other for 40 years since our kids were in diapers together. If anyone would understand without thinking I'd lost my marbles, it was Carol. "Carol, I need to talk. Can we meet at the Corner Cafe?" "Of course, honey. I'll be there in 20 minutes. The Corner Cafe is this little coffee shop 2 blocks from my house. Carol and I have been going there for decades, same booth in the back corner, same waitress Betty, who's got to be pushing 70 herself now. I brought my notebook and laid it all out for Carol. Kevin's phone call, the handwriting switches, the personality changes, Helen's observations, everything. Carol read through my notes, her reading glasses perched on the end of her nose. When she looked up, her expression was serious. "Monique, this isn't your imagination. You've documented it all. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" "I don't know. Part of me thinks I should just ask Rachel directly. But part of me thinks—" I couldn't finish the sentence. "You think she'll lie?" Carol said gently. I nodded. "Then you need to follow her. See where she goes, who she meets. I know it sounds crazy, but something is very wrong here, and you need to protect your family." Just then, Mr. Johnson, the baker from down the street, stopped by our table. "Mrs. Brooks, haven't seen you in a while. How's that lovely daughter-in-law of yours?" "She's fine, Joe. Just fine." "That's good. You know, she came by Monday, bought a whole dozen of my cinnamon rolls. Went on and on about how they were Tyler's favorite. Sweetest thing." He paused, scratching his head. "But Tuesday morning she came back in and didn't say a word to me. Didn't even smile. Just bought bread and left." I wondered if I'd done something to offend her. After he walked away, Carol and I just stared at each other. "Follow her," Carol said firmly. "Tomorrow. See where she really goes." Friday afternoon, I did something I never thought I'd do. I followed my own daughter-in-law. Rachel left the house at 2 o'clock wearing a yellow floral dress and carrying her usual wicker basket. "Just going to the market, Mom, be back in a bit." I waited 5 minutes, then grabbed my old shawl, the blue one that's big enough to wrap around my shoulders and pull up over my hair if needed. I felt like a character in one of those mystery shows Tyler watches, sneaking around like some kind of spy. But I had to know. I kept about half a block behind her. Rachel walked down Main Street like she always did, her basket swinging from her arm. She turned right toward the market, and for a moment I thought maybe I was crazy. Maybe she really was just going shopping. But then she walked right past the market entrance. My heart started pounding. I pressed myself against the wall of the hardware store as Rachel turned left onto Riverside Alley. This was the old part of town, run-down houses with peeling paint, rusty chain-link fences, laundry hanging on lines stretched between buildings. I followed her deeper into the alley, hiding behind a parked truck, then a stack of old tires at a mechanic's shop. Rachel stopped in front of a small house, number 14. The paint was faded yellow-brown, and there was a single wilted daisy in a pot by the door. She knocked. 3 quick taps. The door opened and Rachel slipped inside. I stood there, my legs shaking, sweat running down my back despite the autumn breeze. What was my daughter-in-law doing in this neighborhood? This wasn't any friend's house I'd ever heard about. I waited. 10 minutes, 15, 20. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to get home before she did, had to make sure she didn't catch me following her. I turned and hurried back through the alley, practically running by the time I reached Main Street. I got home breathless and confused and rushed inside. I put water on for tea, trying to act natural, trying to calm my racing heart. And that's when I heard it. The front door closing. Rachel walked into the kitchen wearing a white blouse and jeans, not the yellow dress she'd left in. She was carrying her basket now full of vegetables. "Mom, why are you so out of breath? Are you okay?" I stared at her. I'd left her in that house on Riverside Alley not 15 minutes ago. There was no way, absolutely no way she could have gotten home before me changed clothes and gone to the market. "I'm fine," I managed to say. Just did some tidying upstairs. Got a bit winded." She gave me a strange look, then started unpacking the vegetables. "Well, sit down. Rest. You're not as young as you used to be, Mom." That night I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing that yellow dress, that house, that impossible timing. Around 2 in the morning I got up and added to my notebook, she was in 2 places at once. Impossible. Unless I couldn't write the rest. It was too crazy. But somewhere in the back of my mind, a terrible possibility was starting to form. The next morning, Saturday, I made a decision. I walked back to Riverside Alley with the family photo from our living room, the one with Rachel, David, and Tyler at the beach last summer, all of them smiling in the sunshine. I found a woman selling corn from a small stand at the corner of the alley. She was middle-aged, with kind eyes and rough, work-worn hands. "Excuse me," I said, holding up the photo. "Have you seen this woman around here?" The woman squinted at the picture, then nodded. "Oh, sure. She comes by a lot. Goes to house number 14, that one right there. Sweet girl. Sometimes she seems real friendly, sometimes she's in a hurry and don't say nothing. Why's she in some kind of trouble?" No, just trying to find her. Thank you." I walked to house number 14, my hands trembling so badly I almost dropped the photo. I knocked on the door. It opened, and standing there wearing a simple blue t-shirt and jeans, her hair pulled back in a ponytail, was Rachel. Except it wasn't Rachel. I knew it the instant I saw her eyes. There was something different, something softer, something scared. "Please," she whispered, starting to close the door. "Please, you can't be here." "Wait." A voice came from inside the house. A young woman, maybe late 20s, with short blonde hair, appeared behind the Rachel look-alike. "Mrs. Brooks, I'm Jessica. Jessica Miller. Please come inside. It's time you knew the truth." I stepped into that small, dim house, and my whole world shifted. Because standing there, tears streaming down her face, was a woman who looked exactly like my daughter-in-law. Exactly. Same face, same hair, same everything. "My name is Emma," she said in a broken voice. "I'm not Rachel. I'm her twin sister." And just like that, everything I thought I knew came crashing down. I stood in that cramped little house staring at this woman who looked exactly like Rachel, and I swear my heart was beating so hard I thought everyone could hear it. "Twin sister," I finally managed to say. "Rachel never mentioned, she never said anything about a twin." Emma wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. She looked terrified, like a trapped animal. "She wouldn't. We only met 3 years ago. Neither of us knew the other existed until then." Jessica, the young blonde woman, gently guided me to a worn wooden chair. "Mrs. Brooks, please sit down. This is going to be a lot to take in." I sat, but I couldn't take my eyes off Emma. Now that I was really looking, I could see tiny differences. The way she held herself smaller, more uncertain. Her hands were rougher, more work-worn. And her eyes? God, her eyes had a kindness in them that I'd never quite seen in Rachel's. "Tell me everything," I said. "From the beginning." Emma glanced at Jessica, who nodded encouragingly. Then Emma took a shaky breath and began. "I was adopted as a baby by a woman named Sarah Carter. She was a nurse at Phoenix General Hospital back in 1992. She told me that a young mother came in only 19 years old, pregnant with twins. The father had left her. She was alone, scared, and couldn't afford to keep both babies." My hand went to my mouth. Oh, dear Lord. Sarah said the mother was crying through the whole labor. She kept saying she could only keep one baby. She couldn't feed two. Sarah held me right after I was born, and she told me later that she looked at this tiny newborn me, and she just couldn't let them put me up for adoption with strangers. So she took me home herself. "Did Sarah know the mother's name?" I asked. Emma shook her head. "If she did, she never told me. And now—" Her voice cracked. "Now Sarah has Alzheimer's. She's in the bedroom here on hospice care. Most days she doesn't even remember my name." As if on cue, I heard a weak cough from somewhere in the back of the house. Emma stood up. "Let me check on her. I'll be right back." While Emma was gone, Jessica leaned forward. "Mrs. Brooks, I'm Emma's roommate. I've known her for 5 years. She's the kindest person I've ever met. She works 3 jobs to pay for Sarah's care, waitressing at night, cleaning offices in the morning, and doing grocery delivery on weekends. When Sarah's condition got worse and they moved her to hospice care, the bills became impossible." "How much?" I asked. $4,500 a month. Emma was only making about $1,800 a month total. She was drowning. Emma came back looking even more exhausted. "Sarah's resting. I gave her more medication." She sat down heavily. "That's when everything changed. 3 years ago, I was working at the Phoenix Farmers Market selling produce for extra cash, and I saw her." "Rachel," I said. "Yes." I looked up and it was like looking in a mirror. We both just froze. People were walking around us and we're just standing there staring at each other. Finally, she came over and said, "Who are you?" I said I was about to ask you the same thing. Emma's hands were shaking as she continued. "We went to a coffee shop, compared birth certificates, same date, August 15th, 1992. Same city. We had to be twins." Rachel was shocked. She said her parents, her adoptive parents, never told her she was adopted, let alone that she had a twin. "Did you try to find your birth mother?" I asked. Rachel said she would look into it. She took my phone number, said we should stay in touch. And for a few weeks we did. We'd meet for coffee talk about our lives. She seemed so successful. She had you, David Tyler. A real family. I was happy for her. I felt a cold dread settling in my stomach. But then something changed. Emma nodded slowly. "About 1.5 years ago, Rachel called me. Said she needed to meet urgently. When I saw her, she was all dressed up, expensive clothes, makeup perfect. She told me she'd met someone. A man named Benjamin Thompson." "Who is he?" "A real estate developer, very wealthy. Rachel said he was sophisticated, worldly, everything David wasn't. She said she'd fallen in love with him, that he was taking her to Paris, New York, Los Angeles. But she couldn't just leave her marriage. The divorce would be messy, and you—" Emma looked at me with guilt-filled eyes. "She said you would make it very difficult." I sat back in my chair, feeling sick. So she needed someone to pretend to be her. She offered me $5,000, just to stay at the house for a few hours while she went out. She said no one would know that we looked so much alike, it would be easy. I said no. I said it was crazy that I couldn't do that. Jessica spoke up. But then Sarah's condition got worse. The hospice bills increased. Emma was about to lose the only mother she'd ever known. Rachel came back a week later, Emma continued, and now tears were streaming freely down her face. She brought cash, $10,000. She put it on the table and said Sarah doesn't have much time left. Don't let her die suffering because you're too proud to accept help. What was I supposed to do? I reached out and took Emma's rough, trembling hand in mine. Oh, honey. The first time I was so scared. Rachel coached me for hours. She told me exactly how David liked his coffee, 2 sugars, light cream. She told me that Tyler's favorite bedtime song was "You Are My Sunshine." She told me you knitted every evening and that your favorite tea was chamomile. She made me practice writing with my right hand because she's right-handed and I'm left-handed. That's why the handwriting changed, I whispered. I tried so hard to always use my right hand, but sometimes I forgot. Sometimes when I was tired or distracted, I'd slip back to my left hand. Emma covered her face. I never wanted to hurt anyone. That's why when I was there, I tried to be kind. I tried to be the mother and wife they deserved. Because Rachel was only using that time to be with Benjamin. The pieces were all falling into place now like some horrible puzzle. The personality changes. Some days Rachel was sweet. Some days she was cold. That wasn't mood swings. That was two different people. Yes, Emma said quietly. When I was there, I was me. I played with Tyler because I love children. I sang to him because my mother Sarah used to sing to me. I helped you in the kitchen because I wanted to. But when Rachel came back, she was irritable, distant, angry, I finished. Jessica pulled out a folder. I've kept records. Every time Rachel asked Emma to fill in. It's been going on for 18 months, Mrs. Brooks, 2 or 3 times a week. Sometimes Rachel would leave town those trips Kevin mentioned, the one to Paris on his flight. Other times she'd just be gone for hours meeting Benjamin at hotels. The Riverside Hotel, Emma added. Room 1205. That's their usual spot. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Does David know? Does he suspect anything? I don't think so, Emma said. Rachel was careful. She always made sure the timing was perfect. And because Emma and I look so identical because Emma was trying so hard to be like Rachel. No one noticed, I said bitterly. Except I did. Finally. We sat in silence for a moment. Then I heard that weak cough again from the back room. Can I meet Sarah? I asked. Emma looked surprised, but nodded. She led me to a small bedroom where an elderly woman lay in a hospital bed, oxygen tubes in her nose. Sarah Carter must have been in her late 70s, her white hair thin and wispy, her face lined with age and illness. But even in sleep, there was something peaceful about her. She saved me, Emma whispered. She gave me life. She worked double shifts as a nurse to put me through school. She never had much, but she gave me everything. Her voice broke. And I repaid her by becoming part of a lie. I put my arm around Emma's shoulders. You repaid her by keeping her comfortable and loved in her final days. Don't you dare think otherwise. We went back to the living room and I sat down again, my mind racing. Emma, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. She nodded. Do you know where Rachel is right now? Today, Emma glanced at Jessica, then back at me. Yes, she texted me this morning. She said she needed me to cover from 2 to 7 p.m. today. She's meeting Benjamin at the Riverside Hotel. I looked at my watch. It was just past noon. Room 1205. Yes. I stood up and I felt something hard and determined settle in my chest. For 10 years since Raphael died, I'd been the sweet widow, the doting grandmother, the nice old lady who made cookies and knitted scarves. But Raphael used to say I had steel in my spine when it mattered. When someone threatened my family, that steel came out. Jessica, do you have a camera? A good one. Jessica's eyes widened. I have a camera with a zoom lens. I do some freelance photography. Good. Emma, I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Emma looked scared, but nodded. What are you going to do? I'm going to get proof, real proof, and then I'm going to make sure Rachel never hurts this family again. I turned to both of them. But I need your help. Are you willing? Jessica stood up immediately. Absolutely. Emma hesitated, then stood as well. Mrs. Brooks, I'm so sorry for everything. I know I should have. I held up my hand. You're a victim here too, Emma. Rachel manipulated you, threatened you, used your love for Sarah against you. But now we're going to end this. Together. An hour later, Jessica, Emma, and I were in the lobby of the Riverside Hotel. It was one of those fancy places with marble floors and crystal chandeliers. I felt out of place in my simple cardigan and slacks, but I held my head high. Room 1207, I told the desk clerk, paying cash for a one-night stay. Right next to 1205, if possible. The young man didn't even blink. Of course, ma'am. Enjoy your stay. We took the elevator to the 12th floor. Emma's hands were shaking. Mrs. Brooks, maybe we should— No second thoughts, I said firmly. You said Rachel would be here at 2 o'clock. It's 1:45 now. We're doing this. Jessica had her camera ready, a professional-looking thing with a massive lens. We positioned ourselves in room 1207, leaving the door cracked just slightly so Jessica could see the hallway. At 2:03 p.m., the elevator dinged. Rachel stepped out, and I barely recognized her. She was wearing a designer dress, high heels, perfect makeup. Her hair was styled in waves. She looked like she was going to some gala, not meeting a lover in a hotel room. Behind her was a man, tall, silver-haired, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my car. Benjamin Thompson. Jessica's camera started clicking softly. Through the crack in the door, I watched Rachel laugh at something Benjamin said. She looked so happy, so carefree. Then he pulled her close and kissed her right there in the hallway. More clicks from the camera. They went into room 1205. The door closed. I sat on the bed, my heart pounding. Now we wait. 20 minutes later, I couldn't wait anymore. I stood up. I'm going over there. Mrs. Brooks, Emma started. No, I'm ending this now. I walked out of room 1207, crossed the hallway, and knocked on the door of room 125. Hard. Silence. Then shuffling sounds. The door opened a crack and Rachel's face appeared. Her hair was messed up now, her lipstick smudged. When she saw me, all the color drained from her face. Monique, what are you? How did you? We need to talk right now. This isn't a good time. I pushed the door open. Benjamin was standing by the bed, buttoning his shirt. He looked confused. Rachel, who is this? I'm her mother-in-law, I said coldly. The mother of the husband she's still married to. The grandmother of the 7-year-old son she abandoned to be here with you. Benjamin's face changed. What, Rachel, you told me you were divorced. Benjamin, let me explain, Rachel started. Explain what? I demanded. Explain how you've been using your own twin sister to cover for you while you run around with this man. Explain how you've been lying to your husband, neglecting your son, deceiving your whole family for 18 months. Jessica stepped into the hallway, camera in hand. I have everything documented, Mrs. Brooks. Photos, dates, times. Rachel saw Jessica and went white as a sheet. You had me followed. You made that necessary when you turned my family into a lie, I said. Behind me, Emma appeared, and Rachel's face twisted with fury. You betrayed me. I trusted you. Emma's voice was quiet but steady. No, Rachel. You exploited me. You used my mother's illness to blackmail me into being part of your deception. That's not trust. That's manipulation. Benjamin grabbed his jacket. I don't know what kind of crazy situation this is, but I want no part of it. Rachel or whoever you are, we're done. He pushed past us and headed for the elevator. Benjamin, wait, Rachel called after him, but he didn't turn around. She whirled back to face us, and I saw something dark and ugly in her expression. You've ruined everything. Everything. No, I said firmly. You ruined it yourself. You had a good man who loved you, a beautiful son, a family that welcomed you, and you threw it all away for what? Money, excitement, a fantasy? Rachel laughed, but it was bitter harsh. You don't understand anything. David is boring. This life is suffocating. I deserve better than some middle-class existence in Phoenix. Then you should have been honest, I said. You should have asked for a divorce like an adult instead of creating this elaborate lie. Instead of using Emma. Instead of making your son cry because his mother is sometimes an angel and sometimes a stranger. At the mention of Tyler, something flickered in Rachel's eyes, but it was gone in an instant. Tyler will be fine. He has you. Those words hit me like a slap. You don't even care about him, do you? Rachel didn't answer. She just grabbed her purse. I'm not coming back to that house. You can tell David whatever you want. I'm done pretending. She tried to push past me, but I caught her arm. Oh no, you're coming home. You're going to face David like an adult and tell him the truth. You owe him that much. For a moment I thought she might actually fight me, but then she saw the determination in my face, saw Jessica with her camera, saw Emma standing there as living proof of everything she'd done. Fine, she hissed. Let's get this over with. As we walked to the elevator, I felt Emma's hand slip into mine. She squeezed it gently, and I squeezed back. Whatever came next, at least the truth was finally coming out. At least my family would know who the real Rachel was, and who Emma was, too. The drive back to my house was the longest 20 minutes of my life. Rachel sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window with her arms crossed. Emma and Jessica followed in Jessica's old Honda. None of us spoke. When we pulled into the driveway, I saw David's truck already there. He'd come home early, probably wondering where everyone was. My heart ached for what was about to happen to him. "Wait here," I told Rachel, Emma, and Jessica. "Let me talk to him first." I found David in the kitchen making a sandwich. He looked up and smiled when he saw me. "Hey, Mom, where have you been? I came home early and the house was empty. Even Tyler's at Jimmy's house for a play date." Then his smile faded. "Mom, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." "David, honey, sit down, please." "Mom, you're scaring me." "I know, but I need you to listen to everything I'm about to tell you, and I need you to stay calm, for Tyler's sake. Can you do that?" David sat slowly, his face already pale. "What happened? Is it Rachel? Is she hurt?" "No, she's not hurt. But David." I took a deep breath. "Your wife has been having an affair for 18 months. The color drained completely from his face. "What? No, Mom, that's not possible. Rachel would never." I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos Jessica had taken. Rachel kissing Benjamin in the hallway. Rachel entering the hotel room. The timestamps on every image. David stared at the screen, his hands starting to shake. How did you? "There's more." I sat down beside him and took his hand. "David, Rachel has been using someone else to pretend to be her, to stay home with you and Tyler while she went out with this man." "Using someone? What are you talking about?" "Rachel has a twin sister, an identical twin she never told you about." David's mouth opened, but no sound came out. He just stared at me like I was speaking a foreign language. "Her name is Emma. Rachel met her 3 years ago and convinced her to impersonate her so Rachel could be with her lover. Emma's been in our house, David. She's been taking care of Tyler, having dinner with us, living pieces of Rachel's life." "This is insane," David whispered. "This is absolutely insane." "I know, but it's all true. And they're here. All of them. Rachel, Emma, and Jessica, Emma's roommate, who helped me find out the truth." David stood up so fast his chair fell over. Where are they?" "Outside. But David, before you see them, I need you to understand something. Emma is a victim here too. Rachel manipulated her, used her mother's medical bills to force her into this. When Emma was here, she was kind to Tyler. She was kind to all of us, because that's who Emma is." "I don't care who's kind," David said, his voice breaking. "My wife cheated on me for 18 months, and I was so stupid, so blind I didn't even notice." "You're not stupid. You trusted your wife. That's what we're supposed to do." David headed for the front door. I followed him outside where Rachel, Emma, and Jessica were standing by the cars. When David saw Emma standing next to Rachel, he actually stumbled backward. "My God," he breathed. You're exactly the same." Emma looked down at her feet. "I'm so sorry, David. I never wanted to hurt you or Tyler. I just don't." David cut her off. His eyes were locked on Rachel. How could you? Tyler is 7 years old, Rachel. 7. And you just abandoned him, pawned him off on a stranger so you could." His voice cracked. Rachel's face was hard, emotionless. "I told her how to take care of him. She wasn't a complete stranger. She wasn't his mother. You're supposed to be his mother." "Well, maybe I didn't want to be," Rachel shouted back. "Maybe I'm tired of being stuck in this boring life with a boring husband who works all the time and a kid who needs constant attention. Benjamin offered me something better, something more." David looked like she'd physically struck him. "Something more. We're your family. You're an anchor around my neck." The words hung in the air like poison. Emma gasped. Jessica put a hand over her mouth. I felt tears streaming down my face, but David just nodded slowly. Okay then. Pack your things. I want you out of this house by tonight." "Gladly," Rachel spat. She turned to me. "You think you've won something here? You haven't. You've just destroyed your son's marriage and broken up your grandson's family. Congratulations." She stormed past us into the house. I started to follow, but David caught my arm. "Let her go, Mom. Just let her go." We stood there in the driveway and I realized Emma was crying. "I'm so sorry," she kept saying. "I'm so sorry." David looked at her for a long moment. "When you were here, when you pretended to be Rachel, were you the one who sang to Tyler that song, 'You Are My Sunshine'?" Emma nodded, wiping her eyes. "Rachel never sang to him. She said it was silly." David's voice was hollow. "You were better to my son in a few stolen hours than his real mother was in 7 years." 3 days later, Rachel was gone. She'd packed her designer clothes, her jewelry, and left without saying goodbye to Tyler. Our grandson kept asking where Mommy went, and I didn't know how to explain it to him. But Emma kept coming by. She'd bring homemade cookies, play trucks with Tyler in the backyard, help me make dinner. She never pretended to be Rachel anymore, she was just Emma, and somehow that was enough. One afternoon, about a week after everything fell apart, I went to visit Sarah Carter in that little house on Riverside Alley. Emma had told me Sarah was having more lucid moments lately, and I needed to ask her something. Sarah was awake when I arrived, propped up on pillows, her cloudy eyes focusing slowly on my face. Who are you? My name is Monique Brooks, Mrs. Carter. I'm Emma's family. A small smile crossed Sarah's wrinkled face. Emma, my sweet girl, is she here? She's at work, but I wanted to ask you something about Emma's birth. Do you remember anything about her mother, the woman who gave her up? Sarah's eyes drifted closed, and for a moment I thought she'd fallen asleep. But then she spoke, her voice barely a whisper. The mother was so young, just a child herself, 19. Do you remember her name? Martha. Her name was Martha. Sarah coughed weakly. She cried the whole time, said she couldn't keep both babies. The father had left her. She was all alone. My heart started pounding. Martha, are you sure? Yes, Martha. Brooks, I think. Or maybe I'm remembering wrong. My memory isn't good anymore. I gripped the edge of the bed. Martha Brooks. My husband Raphael had a younger sister named Martha. She'd run away from home when she was 19 in 1991, the year before Emma and Rachel were born. The family never heard from her again. Raphael spent years looking for her, but she'd vanished completely. Mrs. Carter, do you remember anything else? Anything about the father? Sarah's eyes fluttered. She wouldn't say, just that he'd left her, that she was alone. She kept saying, How can I choose between my babies? A tear rolled down Sarah's weathered cheek. I took the second baby, the one she couldn't keep. I promised her I'd love her. And I did. I loved Emma with everything I had. I know you did, I whispered, taking Sarah's frail hand. You're a wonderful mother. Sarah smiled and drifted off to sleep. I sat there for a long time, my mind reeling. If Martha Brooks was Emma and Rachel's mother, and Martha was Raphael's sister, then that meant Emma and Rachel were Raphael's nieces, which meant David had married his second cousin, which meant Emma was also David's second cousin. I drove home in a daze and immediately called Kevin. Honey, I need you to help me with something. Do you still have that DNA testing kit, the one from that Ancestry website? Yeah, somewhere. Why? I need to test something. Can you bring it over tomorrow? Sure, Mom, but what's going on? I'll explain when you get here. Just trust me. 2 weeks later, the DNA results came back. I opened the envelope with shaking hands, David sitting beside me at the kitchen table. The numbers were right there in black and white. David, Emma, and Rachel all shared 12.5% of their DNA. They were second cousins. My God, David breathed. Dad's sister Martha. She's their mother. Which means Rachel knew, I said slowly. She had to have known. When she met Emma, when she saw they were twins, she must have researched their birth. She must have figured out the connection. And she never said anything. She married me knowing we were related. Second cousins can legally marry, I said quickly. It's not illegal or anything, but she should have told you. David put his head in his hands. My whole marriage was built on lies. Just then there was a knock at the door. I opened it to find Emma standing there holding a covered dish. I made lasagna, she said softly. I thought Tyler might like. She saw our faces. What's wrong? I invited her in and showed her the DNA results. Emma sank into a chair, her face pale. We're family, real family. Yes, I said gently. You've been family all along. You just didn't know it. Emma started crying deep, wrenching sobs. All my life I thought I was alone. After Sarah took me in, she was all I had. But I always wondered about my real family. And they were here. Right here. All this time. I held her while she cried, and I felt something shift in my heart. This young woman, so kind, so genuine, she was part of us. She'd always been part of us. A month later, things had settled into a new normal. The divorce papers were filed. Rachel had moved to California with what money she'd managed to save. She didn't fight for custody, didn't even ask for visitation. Tyler was hurt at first, but Emma's constant presence helped ease the pain. Then one Tuesday morning, a courier arrived with legal documents. Rachel was suing us. She was suing Emma for identity theft, claiming emotional damages. She was suing for custody of Tyler, and she was demanding half of David's assets, including the house. She can't do this, David said, his hands shaking as he read through the papers. She abandoned him. She cheated. She lied. She's desperate, she said. Benjamin must have cut her off. She has no income, no support. This is her trying to get money. Emma looked terrified. Mrs. Brooks, I could go to jail. Identity theft is a crime. I pretended to be her. I used her identity. She coerced you, Jessica interrupted. She'd become a regular fixture at our house, too. She manipulated you, threatened you. We have proof of that. Do we have enough proof? Emma whispered. I thought about my notebook filled with months of observations, the photos Jessica had taken, the testimony we could give. Yes, I said firmly, we have enough, and we're going to fight this. The custody hearing was 3 months later. Rachel showed up in an expensive suit, her lawyer beside her. She looked confident, composed. But when she saw Emma sitting next to David, something flickered in her eyes. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s named Judge Patricia Morrison, reviewed all the evidence. My notebook with its detailed timeline, Jessica's photographs, hotel records, testimonies from neighbors about Rachel's changing behavior, Tyler's statement given through a child psychologist about how scared he was of mean mommy and how much he loved when nice mommy was there. When it was Emma's turn to testify, she told the truth. All of it. How Rachel had found her, how she'd manipulated her, how she'd used Sarah's medical bills as leverage. She showed the court records of Sarah's hospice care costs, the payments Rachel had made, the texts where Rachel had threatened to report Sarah's care as neglectful if Emma didn't comply. I know what I did was wrong, Emma said, tears streaming down her face. I should never have agreed to pretend to be someone else. But I was desperate, and Rachel knew exactly how to exploit that desperation. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want the court to know that Tyler, sweet innocent Tyler, he deserves better than this. He deserves stability and love, not to be used as a pawn in his mother's games. Rachel's lawyer tried to paint Emma as a criminal, a manipulator who'd stolen his client's life. But when Rachel took the stand, something went wrong. Ms. Brooks, Judge Morrison said, do you love your son? Rachel hesitated. Of course I do. Then why did you leave him for 18 months to pursue an affair? I didn't leave him. Emma was there taking care of him. But you knew Tyler believed Emma was you. You knew you were deceiving your son, making him bond with a stranger while you were with another man. Rachel's jaw tightened. Tyler was fine. He was fed, clothed, cared for. By someone who wasn't his mother, someone you hired to impersonate you. Judge Morrison leaned forward. Ms. Brooks, I've been a family court judge for 23 years. I've seen a lot of things, but I have never seen a mother so callously use her own child as a cover for infidelity. You didn't leave Tyler with a babysitter, you replaced yourself, so you wouldn't have to be a mother at all. The courtroom was silent. Furthermore, the judge continued, the evidence shows that you coerced Ms. Emma Carter into this arrangement through financial manipulation and threats. While Ms. Carter's actions were misguided, they were not criminal given the circumstances. Your actions, however, show a pattern of deception, manipulation, and emotional abandonment. Rachel stood up. This is ridiculous. I'm his mother. Sit down, Ms. Brooks, Judge Morrison said sharply. I'm not finished. The ruling came down like a hammer. No custody for Rachel's supervised visitation, only if Tyler wanted it. No identity theft charges against Emma. Rachel got minimal assets from the divorce due to the infidelity clause in her prenup. And David was granted full custody with Emma approved as Tyler's legal guardian. Rachel's face went white with rage. This isn't over, she hissed as she left the courtroom. This isn't over. But it was. 6 months later, I stood in my backyard watching Tyler and Emma plant daisies together. Emma's hands were gentle as she showed Tyler how to dig the holes just right, how to pat the soil carefully around the roots. Like this, Mom? Tyler asked, and my heart swelled. He called her Mom now, naturally without hesitation. Emma smiled that beautiful, genuine smile that lit up her whole face. Perfect, sweetheart. You're doing it perfectly. David came out with lemonade, and I watched him look at Emma with something I hadn't seen in his eyes for years. Real affection. Maybe even love. It was complicated, they were second cousins after all. But second cousins could legally be together, and after everything they'd been through, who was I to judge Sarah Carter had passed away peacefully 2 months ago with Emma holding her hand? We'd all gone to the funeral, our whole family, because Emma was family now. Really and truly. Not just by blood, but by choice. Kevin flew in that weekend. We were all sitting around the dinner table, me, David, Emma, Tyler, Kevin, and Jessica, who'd become like another daughter to me when Kevin raised his glass. To family, he said. Not the one we're born into, but the one we choose. To family, we all echoed. Tyler looked up at Emma, his little face serious. Mom, did you know that Grandma says you're my cousin too, because of the DNA thing? Emma laughed. I did know that, buddy. So you're my mom and my cousin? I guess so. That's weird, Tyler said thoughtfully. Then he shrugged. But okay, you're still my favorite mom. I'm your only mom now, Emma said gently. I know. That's why you're my favorite. We all laughed, and I felt tears prick my eyes. Good tears this time. That night, after everyone had gone home or to bed, I sat on my porch with a cup of chamomile tea and my old notebook. I flipped through the pages, all those observations, all those worried notes, all those questions. On the last page I wrote, "The truth will set you free." It took courage to find it. It took love to heal from it. And it took forgiveness to move forward. My family isn't what I thought it would be. It's better, because we chose each other. I closed the notebook and looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there I hoped Raphael was watching. I hoped he saw how his sister's daughters, the nieces he never got to meet, had found their way to his family after all. And I hoped he knew that we'd be okay. We'd be more than okay. We'd be whole.